Now, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what's the deal with our broadband here in Australia? Why is it so bad? Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 2 or 3 decades, you would have experienced some type of internet connection issues like random disconnects or very slow speeds. This is partially due to the type of technology that we've been using to send data around our broadband network, this being a copper medium or a copper phone line. Now, we all love to stream music and watch those funny cat videos on YouTube, but all this streaming is costing us bandwidth, and the more and more people doing this, the more and more things start to slow down. So what do? Well, we have to find a way to increase our bandwidth and speed up the process of sending data around our network. The good news is we're not the only ones doing this. You see, many other countries are in the same boat. The consensus is that we need to move over to a new medium to send our data, and that medium is optical fiber. Now, here comes the problem. The copper phone line that we've been using has been laid over time, and in most cases has been laid down in brand new areas that have not had any infrastructure to slow down the process. Now, with the new broadband network upgrade, we have to lay optical fiber to each and every household in Australia, or as many as practically possible. Just imagine that for a second. Laying new cable to households in existing areas and trying to do it as quickly as possible. It's a huge job. So who's going to do this job, you may ask? Well, this is where it gets interesting. Now, this is where I would have assumed that you would put out a tender, let other companies bid for the job, and then pick one. I do remember something like that actually happening, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but they decided not to do it and then go it alone. That is, the Australian government decided to do the job itself. The idea was that the Australian government builds the N.B.N as cheaply as possible, and then at the end sells it off to some poor schmuck, hopefully for a profit. So what better way to earn yourself a couple of $1 billion than to give yourself a huge contract like upgrading our broadband network and then stuffing it up? Now, hang on a sec. That would be like me working for the local council and then looking for someone to build the local shopping centre and then giving it to my cousin Stavros because what? He's my cousin? Yeah, there's a word for that. Lust it. I know, I shouldn't be too hard on the N.B.N. I just think they've bitten off more than they can chew. Anyway, the N.B.N was established in 2009 and they started rolling out what's called FTTH, or fibre to the home. Remember, the original plan was fibre to each and every household. Things were going along smoothly and they were rolling out fibre in new estates without existing infrastructure. Now, this is one of the key points. You see, when you start laying fibre in existing neighbourhoods, that's where you hit a snag. The existing setup starts to slow things down and the rollout bogs down in the mud. Rollout time frames started to slip and people started to get angry saying, "Where's my N.B.N?" Then another thing happens in 2013 and it throws a rather large spanner into the system. You see, we had a change of government. Under the previous Labor government, their proposal of FTTH N.B.N was actually pretty good. It was just that the rollout started to cause problems. Now, under the new Liberal government, they see this as a great opportunity to stick it to the previous government and show the country how they can make the N.B.N better. Their proposal is to reuse some of the existing copper network. I mean, why let all that good copper go to waste? Why don't we just mix it with the optical fibre network? That's to say, lay optical fibre to a certain point in your neighbourhood and then just reuse the existing copper line going into your house. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the whole idea of upgrading our network to get off the copper technology in the first place? And here we have the current government just saying, let's just reuse the existing copper. It will save us some time and money. Man, I would love to meet the person who suggested that. I'd walk up to him or her and slap them silly. Anyway, moving along. They now put forward 2 new types of connection. Those of us who are on cable, we were migrated over to HFC, or hybrid fiber coax. Remember, it's optical fiber to a certain point in your neighborhood, and then they reuse the coax cable coming into your house. Those of you who don't have cable, well, you have a perfectly good copper phone line. So we'll put fiber to the node. That's optical fiber to a certain point in your neighborhood, and then just reuse the copper phone line coming into your house. Wow, didn't anyone think this through? Remember, copper is bad, optical fiber is good. Yet these morons are reusing technology that we have to get off because it's not suitable for our growth. Anyway, flash forward about 5 years and guess what? We're having problems with our N.B.N. Because we mix technologies, that's the optical fiber and the copper, people are complaining about all sorts of problems. From random disconnects multiple times a day, one that I can personally empathize with when I moved over to the N.B.N, to being sold faster tier speeds that are unattainable. That is, being sold 100 megabit connection of fiber to the node and not being able to get anywhere over 30 or 40 megabits per second. Surely someone foresaw this problem when they were advising the government at the time. They can't have been that naive. Hang on a sec, we are talking about the Australian government here. I'll just leave that one hanging there for a sec. Anywho, it's September 2018 and the N.B.N is still rolling out. Slowly. Some of you fortunate ones who are on FTTH, well done. You guys are doing great. In most cases. Some of us who are on HFC, well, this is still okay, assuming you've gotten past the initial migration problems, but don't expect any future speeds faster than 100 megabits per second. You'll be affected by the number of people currently connected on your area. That's to say, if you've signed up to a 50 megabit connection, you won't actually get 50 megabits per second. Typical advertised nighttime speeds are around 46 megabits per second, but they can be considerably slower. In my case, I'm getting 37 megabits per second. Don't bother calling up and complaining. Won't do you any good. Well, in my case, it didn't. Those of you who are on fiber to the node, well, I sympathize. You've been hit the worst, unfortunately. In most cases, you won't get over 50 megabits per second. Hell, a lot of people can't even get 20. And this is supposed to carry you through to the future as our broadband access increases. Yeah, good luck with that one. Now, there is a light. Well, I hope it's a light. It may be another dark and lonely tunnel. We'll just have to find out. It's called FTTC, or fiber to the curb. So this is optical fiber all the way to your house, and it stops right outside your door. Well, actually, it's on the curb. And then they reuse the existing copper coming into your house. Yep, they stop right outside your place. You couldn't go that extra 10 or 15 meters now, could you? No, that would be too easy. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a bit frustrated here, but can't they see what they're doing? We have to get off copper, period. No reusing copper. I just don't know. We'll just have to see if things improve. So here we are, almost 10 years later. It's cost billions of dollars. Thankfully, it's not taxpayers' money. And we still don't have a suitable national broadband network. By the looks of it, we won't have one anytime soon. You want to have a look at a country that's done it correctly? Have a look at our neighbours across the pond, New Zealand. Their N.B.N works. Ours doesn't. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the topic. Have a good night.